everybody, and welcome here once again back for UEFA Champions League action for the second leg here of the Champions League. We have FC Porto taking on here against Weynoord in this matchup here for tonight. And I'm here joined with my fellow pundit Jimmy Hansberg here for this coverage here for FC Porto and for Weynoord, because we know that from the last game, Weynoord conceded 2 silly goals as FC Porto won the game from away from home by 2-0 in the matchup. And how do you feel on the result? And how do you feel that obviously FC Porto got that win over the line? And do you think that Weynoord can really redeem themselves and have that redemption path and revenge to try and get 2 goals back here to try and make themselves settled a chance to go through in the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League here for tonight for Weynoord? Or do you think that Porto, with those 2 goals, made it a lot harder for Weynoord in the matchup from last week? They might do the exact same thing again here tonight after losing to Porto last week and also got knocked out also in the King's Cup against Inter Taloga at home from last Saturday. Well, I feel that is a real big game. This is obviously a real big deal. This is obviously for Weynoord in terms of our form so far in the King's Cup trophy respectively, and also the first leg of the quarter-finals of the UEFA Champions League from last week. It's very, very important that hopefully we can see some progress, in fact, for Weynoord in the matchup here for tonight, because if we don't win here, or we don't score more than 2 goals, or 3 goals in fact, then we're not going to have any chance on going through here tonight to go into the next round of the UEFA Champions League semi-finals. And we know that obviously for FC Porto, if we can get 2 goals here for tonight, then this game might go to penalties instead, rather than us going through. But if we can score 3 goals here for tonight, then there's a massive chance, of course, that we do go through into that last 4 of the European competition. So it's a massive deal, obviously, for Weynoord here for tonight to get the job done. And I do feel the players have really learned their lesson, I think, in terms of that intense training that Carlo Ancelotti has really gave into the Weynoord team from Monday and Tuesday before the game here tonight against Porto away from home in Portugal. So very, very big game this is here tonight, and we cannot write off how Weynoord can respond back in this matchup to pick up anything from this, to try and come back in this tie. They have a chance on trying to get a crack on qualifying in that last 4 of the UEFA Champions League. So who knows? But we see what happens, of course, from now until the end of the game. Thank you very much there, Jimmy, and let's get straight now into the game itself here for the UEFA Champions League, as we do have the big game here right now. Between here for tonight will be Porto versus Weynoord, and could Weynoord get back in a comeback to try and qualify before Porto might end them here by the end of tonight of the second leg of the King's Cup trophy? Let's get to that game right now live in Porto here for this evening. And we are here now for the second leg of the UEFA Champions League quarter-finals, as one last chance for Weynoord to redeem themselves here for tonight, because if Weynoord don't score 2 goals or even 3 goals here tonight to try have any chances on going through into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, then they'll be heading out here for tonight. And could FC Porto do the unthinkable and head through here tonight, as last season they went through to the semi-finals of the Champions League? And could they repeat that this season is the question. They are 2 goals up on aggregate, and there's a lot of pressure here tonight for Weynoord to try and get something out of this matchup after another disappointing loss from last weekend to Inter Taloga, as they got knocked out in the quarter-finals of the King's Cup from last weekend. And now they've got to put that to bed now and focus on this matchup here tonight for any chances of Weynoord to come back in the matchup and gain redemption here away from home in Porto here for this evening. And here we go, and we are live here as FC Porto will take on Weynoord in the matchup. And let's get the game underway here for tonight. And now here's Robert Lewandowski. Lost the ball back now to Otavio. Now to Pepe. Now Pepe now pass the ball to Jesus Corona. And now David Carmano now pass the ball to Pepe. Now to Galeno. And now good defending there from Weynoord here now. Now here's Hendrik Mkhitaryan. Looking for a chance to pass here to Robert Lewandowski. It's good attacking flair here for Weynoord in the matchup here. Now Mkhitaryan pass the ball here nicely right there for a goal. And Robert Lewandowski gets a goal back here for Weynoord in the match. As Robert Lewandowski gets a goal back on aggregate here. But this goal will not be enough for Weynoord in the matchup here for tonight. Because 1-0 for Weynoord will not be enough. They have to score one more goal to put this game to penalties, and they have to score another goal here to make it 3 goals away from home to make themselves guarantee qualification in the last 4 of the Champions League. So it's all down to them here tonight, and they've got 1 goal back in the matchup, but 1-0 will not be enough as Porto are still in the lead here on aggregate by 2-1. But at least they're trying though, and they're doing something here, it looks like here, for Weynoord to try and come back from this. Here's Iniesta now passed and lost it back to Otavio. And now here's to David Carno. Now to Jesus Corona. Now Pepe. And now here's Mkhitaryan now to Modric. Now Ketai Blade. Now all the way here again. Now to Galeno. Now here's to Pepe. Has a shot right there to the goalkeeper. And now throw there away here. Now to Robert Lewandowski. Now here's Modric. And now all the way here now to a chance. Now here's a pass there to Galeno. Now lost it back here to Blade. Now Robert Lewandowski on the attack here for Wales in the matchup here. Shot for Blade. And that could have made it 2-0. And they've got to do a lot more here tonight. Obviously Weynoord in the game, because they need to get at least 3 goals. They have to win by 3-0 to try and qualify here tonight. A 2-0 on aggregate to 2-2 will be going to penalties, unfortunately, and we'll have to find out on pens if they can go through on that, if they get another goal here for tonight to wrap it up by 2 for Weynoord in the match. But that corner was wasted right there for Luka Modric, and now be out for a throw here for FC Porto. Now a throw there now into Galeno. Now Galeno now the ball, hold it nice and tight. Now to Guric. Now to Pepe. Half an hour in the matchup so far now. Here's Bruno Martins to Didi. Now Ketai Blade. And now all the way here now to Pepe. And now Guric. Now to Wendell. And now it's Otavio now to Oliver Torres. And now we've got at least now, half an hour played so far the game. And it is nearly over, by the way, so far. As two going into half time. But here's Golstinho, Luka Modric. Now Robert Lewandowski here. 1v1 chance maybe for a goal. Cut through maybe for a goal here, but good defending. And now here's Oliver Torres. Now Blade. And now there's a chance here now. Clearance are there from David Carmo. And now Jesus Corona. And that's going to be a wrap right here for the first half, as FC Porto still take the lead on aggregate. But the score at half time is FC Porto 0, Weynoord 1 in the match itself here tonight. And we are back here for the second half, and here we go between Weynoord and FC Porto. And now Iniesta. Now to De Vuj. Now clearance away here from FC Porto. Now Wendell. Now to Otavio. Now all the way there to Pepe. And now here's Jesus Corona. And now here's to Modric. Now to Mkhitaryan. And now Guric. Now to David Carmo. And now Pepe. And they've got to try and get another goal here, Weynoord obviously, because they are still losing the game in terms of the aggregate score. And now here's Bernardo Silva. Now back now to Guric. Now Oliver Torres now to Otavio. Good ball. Well, oh my chance to goal for a... Oh, that could have been a big danger point here for Weynoord, but offside. And they cannot afford for FC Porto to score any goals here tonight in the matchup, because if they can get one more goal Weynoord in the matchup, they're back in the tie. But unfortunately, they might have to go to penalties otherwise to decide who will go through out of Porto and also Weynoord in the game here for this evening. But now, big boot right away here from Manuel Neuer. Now back now to Porto here now. Otavio. Now again to Samni. Now Oliver Torres now to Goneno. Now to Wendell. Now Iniesta. Now all the way here now again. Now to Goneno. And now here's to Luka Modric. And now Ketai Blade. Nice pass all the way there to Robert Lewandowski. This could be a goal here to make it 2, and it is. And Robert Lewandowski has made it 2-2 on aggregate. And now this might be a chance for Weynoord to make it a chance to go through here tonight instead, rather than worrying about from last week. All they have to do now is score one more goal to make it 3-0, to make it 3-2 on aggregate to go through completely, or unless, if it stays like this game will go straight to penalties between Porto and Weynoord by the end of this game, if it stays 2-0 in the matchup here for tonight. As it's now 2-2 on aggregate, and penalties could happen in 20 minutes from now if the game stays like this as we speak. And now Weynoord now have to really hold on tight here, not make any disappointments right here for their team to try and concede from this here. And now Porto again, dangerous shot, Neuer, oh, goal for Porto! And that is pure heartbreak for FC Porto to score here. And Weynoord's heartbreak is back on again, as Weynoord now are behind on aggregate. Forget about the scoreline, forget about them being the lead in this game here over Porto, as now that goal right there is a major important goal, as Goneno right there tapped the ball into the open net while Neuer was trying to save the shot from the Porto's player. It saved the rebound away, and Goneno had that last tap in, and he tapped it over the line, that goal into the back of the net to make it 3-2 to FC Porto. And now Blade, now back now to Diego Costa, and we do have 10 minutes left of the game to go, by the way. And Weynoord, obviously, unfortunately so, looked like the team might be heading obviously out maybe of the UEFA Champions League. If they can get a goal back in the matchup to make it 3-1 Weynoord, it might go back to penalties again, maybe decider for the end of the matchup. If it stays like this though, that'll mean that Weynoord will head out. And now Blade, score! Oh my god, that was a chance. That was a massive chance right there for Ketai Blade to score there to make it 3-1. Because that third goal will still put them back in the race here to make the game go to penalties if that goal went in. But that goal right there was missed. And looks like here Porto might get a massive surprise victory over Weynoord in this game. And real emotions here for this only Republican team left standing in this UEFA Champions League competition. And it looks like FC Porto could be heading in the semi-finals of the Champions League for next month. Now Van Dijk clears it away. Now Mkhitaryan has a shot right away to the goalkeeper now. Neuer there boots the ball away from danger. And the whistle blows. And FC Porto are the ones who will be heading themselves through in the semi-finals of the Champions League, as it ends 3-2 on aggregate for Porto. And the official results of the second leg of the UEFA Champions League. Bayern Munich 0, Man City 1, and Man City do go through by 1-0 on aggregate. Benfica 1, Arsenal 1, but Benfica head through by 2-1 on aggregate. Liverpool 2, Chelsea 0, and Liverpool head through by 2-0 on aggregate. And also it ends here as FC Porto 1, Weynoord 2, but FC Porto head through by 3-2 on aggregate. And that'll mean the official fixtures now heading into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League, as Manchester City will host Benfica, while Liverpool will host FC Porto in the last 4 of the UEFA Champions League in the semi-finals coming up in next month from now. And coming up, of course, this weekend, as Padres Impact's next game will be live on TV on RBC Sports, as they take on a side also are challenging in the UEFA Champions League places this season, Parantos away from home. And that match will be live away from home for Padres Impact, live on RBC Sports on Saturday kickoff this Saturday in 2 days' time. Very disappointing for Weynoord here tonight. The only Republican team left in the UEFA Champions League head out in the quarter-finals of this competition. But great for Weynoord to show a lot of fight, as they were leading the game by 2-0 during the point of the matchup. But FC Porto got that crucial away goal at the end of the game to make sure that FC Porto are the ones who will head through on 3-2 on aggregate lead into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League to take on Liverpool for next month. And Jimmy, tell us your thoughts on Wales' fight back in the matchup to try and get themselves a massive comeback on aggregate for any chances to push this game onto penalty shootout, or maybe a chance to go through into a comeback here away from home in Portugal here for this evening. A massive fight back for Weynoord in the game here, from obviously 2-0 down in aggregate after being 2-0 down from last week, but to come back from 2-0 down to 2-2 was absolutely dramatic in terms of a great comeback that Weynoord created in the matchup here for tonight. But as of obviously for FC Porto, however, they were the ones who got that typical goal at the end to send us away out of the Champions League with huge disappointments in our hands. But we've got to say that we showed a little bit of character in the game today, a lot of resilience, but unfortunately that wasn't enough for us, unfortunately, to paper over the cracks and put us in a very good position to try and go through into the last four of the UEFA Champions League to take on Liverpool for next month. So I've got to say, fair play to FC Porto to get that last typical silly goal at the end to send them through into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League. But as for Weynoord, however, we've been simply not good enough in our last game so far in the league, such as the cup competition. We got knocked out on Saturday last week to Taloga at home, and also we lost 2-0 to FC Porto in the first leg of the UEFA Champions League. And those results really sets the tone in terms of lack of confidence, of course, for us, and we have to really work on that now in the league if we've got any chance of maybe qualifying in the UEFA Champions League in the league itself, rather than go through the cup competitions and also the Champions League to do so for next season. Thank you there, Jimmy, to wrap up here for the show for tonight. A massive disappointment here for Weynoord to not guarantee a massive chance to go through into the semi-finals of the UEFA Champions League for next month in June. But as for FC Porto, that typical silly goal at the end made sure that Porto head themselves through to take on Liverpool in the next round of the Champions League. But that's all from us here in the studio here for tonight for the Champions League. We'll see you guys on Saturday for Saturday kickoff action between Parantos and Padres Impact in the league. But from all of us here for tonight, have a good night, everyone.